We'll jump straight back in with Sunday's Mail. And should autistic people be able to diagnose themselves? Personally, I think that takes the fun away from me doing it. But, Cressida, what's your view?
Autistic people should be able to diagnose themselves in some cases, top expert says. So this is the Daily Mail. Professor Fletcher Watson is in favour of self-ID. Yeah. He or she, I don't know, thinks that this should be something you can just ID like you would a gender. Yeah. That gets mentioned in this. I don't know, they're saying 1 in 100 people are autistic.
Some say 1 in 50 now or something around that. This is speeding up.
Some of us work in comedy and can't believe it's so low. I don't know.
I do think it is something to do with the bubble you work in to some extent. You know, there are certain bubbles and there are a lot of industries now which hire autistic people or people on the spectrum, let's say, quite deliberately. Like, they look for it. They regard it as the ability to, like, the super focus you can bring, the obsessive qualities and so on are considered to be...
Yeah. It's not that. It's not being diagnosed. If people could diagnose themselves, it only depends on how much money is involved. Well, it's how much money they can make by saying I'm autistic. What kind of programs they could get into. It's the same way with all the other. You're
right. It's the question of whether. Well, it's not about programs necessarily, but it might be about medication. It might be about getting access to interventions of one kind or another, and that is obviously, you know, that's different. If you say I can identify as a woman or I can identify as a man or non-binary or whatever. If it's simply a question of having a slightly irritating demand for, you know, your pronouns being acknowledged, that's one thing. But with autism, if that's something that you're kind of going, I have diagnosed myself as being autistic and I now demand, I don't know, extra time in exams, that could be one thing, for instance, you know.
Good drugs.
OK, that's a good point. But I'm thinking diagnosis is so you've got a call to action, isn't it? It's a what to do next rather than a...
So you say, I've diagnosed myself as autistic, now what? That is the big question, isn't it?
I can make allowances for myself, I don't know. Yeah. And also, we don't have lots of money in the NHS to diagnose everybody, so I reckon save a few quid.
And there are people, I've heard a lot of people saying lately that there are various clinics which have been set up quite recently and opportunistically to offer diagnoses of this kind of thing, ADHD and so on, because there's money in it, because people want a diagnosis and the NHS is overwhelmed and you've got to be a 2-year waiting list, so instead you can go round the back and jump the queue and pay for it.
And you're always saying people should take care of themselves. That's one of your favourite ideas.
They should take care of themselves, but, I mean, I would say you could diagnose yourself with anything as long as I shouldn't be too serious about this. As long as we don't have to give them so much money. I mean, I remember when I was younger, my doctor. It was during the bleak depression years of the 1990s, and my doctor said I went to a psychiatrist.
The 1990s.
1990s, yeah. Oh my God, so long ago. And my doctor said, "Wow, you're really depressed. I can get you depression benefits."
Right.
And I said. Of course I'm depressed. I don't have a job. I don't have a girlfriend.
Yeah, it's a rational response.
Yeah, rational. So I didn't take the. I wish I.
Good for you. Well.